Hello, it's Doris with All the Books. I'm here for a little weekly check-in. I have just like two major things I need to accomplish here. I need to talk about the Book Naturalist Book Club. I'm caught up. And I need to talk about my TBR Takedown. I'm making progress. I apologize for the gleam, the glisten, the sheen of sweat upon my skin, but I live in Southeast China and it's definitely a tropical climate at the moment. So let's get to it. So the May pick for the Book Naturalist Book Club was Sea People in Search of the Ancient Navigators of the Pacific by Christina Thompson. So this year for Book Naturalists, we are celebrating our 5th year by reading books that Heidi and I, my co-hosts, read prior to starting our book club. Or, a few we read along the way, but for like the Book 2 prize that we didn't read in the book club. Because normally we pick books that we have not read either, but this year we've read them. And this one was a great one. So we thought, let's get more people reading it. I really enjoyed this the second time around, even more than the first, I think. It's one of those nonfiction books that has a through line, meaning she gives all sorts of information, but there's a thread that keeps you going, like wanting to know more. So the thread that she uses to tell this story is, how did we in modern times figure out how these ancient peoples navigated from the major continents out to these like super remote, thousands upon thousands of miles away islands? Like, how did they do that without our modern technology? No GPS. And it's just really fascinating how she tells how modern technology evolved through this story of how we found out how these peoples traveled. So she just talks about such diverse fields like computer data, linguistics, genetics, trial and error, all these different ways that modern man has figured out how these ancient peoples were so brilliant. And I just loved it, really. And then this month in June, one of my favorites, Dave Goulson. Love him. He is an entomologist in the UK and just such a charming writer. So charming. And I love bumblebees, okay? I love bugs and bumblebees especially. So A Sting in the Tail, My Adventures with Bumblebees. So these are really just all sorts of different field studies, research projects, and he tells us all about them, and it's just fun. It's a good time and just delightful. Highly recommend. So if you watched my last video, if you have not, maybe you should stop now and go watch it. So you know what I'm talking about in more detail here, but I have a TBR takedown project going. So I'm living here in China, and I don't have access to a lot of English language books to buy on occasion. So I keep my little TBR here, and it's grown quite a bit in the last few months, and I'm heading to the US in 2 weeks. So I want to read down my physical TBR takedown, because I'm planning to buy the books on vacation. I'm going to buy a lot of books on vacation. It's going to be a big, fun, good time. So I want to get my TBR down a little bit so I'll have room on the bookshelf for the new acquisitions. So when last we spoke about this, I had 42 books on the shelf, and I have taken 5 off. So now we're down to 37. So making progress. I asked everyone to guess how many I would get read between the time I posted the video and June 15th when I leave home for vacations. I averaged all the guesses because I don't know, that's just what I do. And it actually was right around 10, give or take, you know, 0.1%. A tenth? Yeah. So 10 is what you all have guessed that I would read. And I said I took 5 off the shelf, but I have not read 5. One is a DNF. So let's just talk about that, shall we? South to America by Imani Perry. A journey below the Mason-Dixon to understand the soul of a nation. If you cannot tell by my accent, I am Southern. I'm very Southern. And I just thought I was going to absolutely love this. It's a New York Times bestseller, a National Book Award winner. And when Heidi from My Reading Life and heard from Britta Bowler that they had DNF'd this book, I thought, really? Why? Heidi's the one that told me. I said, why, Heidi? Why? She said it was just so scattered and disconnected. And I was like, And you know, Heidi and I agree on 90% of our reads, but you know, there are some divergences there. So I thought, you know, I might still like it. I had hope. But I read the first chapter and nope. They were right. And I read an additional chapter. I read the chapter on Florida because I am from Florida. And yeah, I'm done. The Florida one was called what? Pistoles and Flamboyant. I don't know. But so this is, I was able to read the random chapter from the back because this is kind of told in essays about different locations and regions in the American South. The first one is on Appalachia, an errand into wilderness. And, you know, this is how it goes. You're just reading about Appalachia, and then you're reading about, you know, excerpts from famous authors, and then somehow you're in Walmart and having deep thoughts about people's gum disease. And like, I got there and I was questioning, did I fall asleep while I was reading and missed how I got from Appalachia to, you know, Poe to Walmart to gum disease? So, you know, I scanned back a few paragraphs and no, I didn't miss anything. It's just, it's that random. So wasn't connecting with the writing, and I decided to just go with the DNF. Then I think I have better news for you. Another nonfiction, The Rise and the Fall of the Dinosaurs. The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs by Steve Brussati. This was freaking fabulous. Let me emphasize, freaking fabulous. Wow. I saw this on Charlotte from, was it Tired Mama Blooms was her most recent iteration. She is not at the moment posting on YouTube, but she has been posting again on Instagram. she had read this, and, you know, she reads nonfiction quite a bit, but this is not something, like, it's not totally out of her wheelhouse, but it's definitely something that she wouldn't often pick up. But she just, and she talked about that, how, you know, it was a little bit different for her, but just so good. And ever since then, I have had it on the back of my mind. You know, every time I see it, oh, I should read that. So I finally picked it up in a bookshop. Where did I pick it up? Singapore, maybe? I don't remember, but yeah, I think it was, this is my Singapore stack, yeah. So good, so good. So I finally read it because I had bought a hard copy, and oh man, you know, you just assume that you know everything there is to know about dinosaurs. You know, you kind of assume you learn everything in elementary school, but no, people are continuing to research and continuing to learn new things in the field. And there is so much in here that I did not know, or I had heard briefly, but she goes into depth about the how and why, or he, sorry, and wow. So solid evidence that T-Rex had feathers. What? Yeah. Oh, and what happened to the dinosaurs? Like, I knew, but this really explains it all. Oh, so good. And the people, I love reading about the people in science, the people that are, you know, have these passions to explore and learn and discover. Oh, so good, so good. Highly recommend. 5-star, blazing 5-star read. That was. And then I have 3 entertaining reads. So really fun to just be able to, you know, check out and enjoy a story. So let me go in order of least favorite. Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life, romance author. I enjoy her books by and large. I think, I can't remember which one I didn't like. The one where the friend group had the beach vacation at the family home. Anyway, but this one was okay. The romance was fun. I enjoyed it. The woman was a little bit too much for me at first, but she grew on me. But this is a little bit different from a typical romance or her typical romance. Somebody mentioned recently that it was kind of like Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I would agree. A little bit more into like more women's fiction instead of strictly romance. So half the story is a typical romance, and both the main characters are authors, biographers, and one is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and the other is a newspaper columnist, or like online magazine style, I would say. Respected in the field, but she's trying to get into writing books. And they're both trying to win the biography, the rights to write it, of this famous lifestyle person, you know, kind of a Kardashian type, who has become a recluse, like so much so that nobody knows where this woman is anymore. But they have found her, and she is trying to decide which one. So we'll write her book, her story. So the book kind of goes back and forth between their story and the woman who's writing her story, and not just her story, but the backstory of her family, extremely wealthy, how they became wealthy, etc. So that part was okay, but it didn't hold my interest. And one thing I love about romance stories, my favorites are those that have like a friend group that you get to know and enjoy. And I felt like distanced from those people because they were being told through a storyline, you know? So anyway, good, but kind of a 3.5 stars, and not a 3.5 that I would round up to a 4. So yeah. Then Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is the 3rd in the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett, and loved it. These covers are so cute. There's the other 2. So these are fairy stories, but not your typical, I say typical, the modern fairies, the romantasy type fairies where, you know, the fairy sex is a lot. It's very light in this book, like fade to black in this book, in this series. And so you have your protagonist who is a stereotypical scholarly woman, works, she's a professor at, what's that famous UK, you know, university? Oh, the name escapes me. Anyway, her nemesis at the opening of the series is Wendell, who is suspected to be a fairy, but he is also a professor in dryadology, is what they study at this university. And also her love interest, obviously. So the first book, she was in trouble and had to be rescued. And the second book, he was in trouble and had to be rescued. So my only beef with this book is that I would have liked for someone else to be in trouble and need to be rescued. But he was in trouble again and needed to be rescued. So, but I am hooked on this little world and greatly enjoy this. So this was more of a 4-star, where I think the other 2 were more 5 stars for me, but really enjoyed that. And then just finished last night, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. And I really enjoy Grady Hendrix. He is a horror author, but it's a little bit softer horror, if that makes sense. It's not hardcore. And this one was a little bit softer than the other 2. I have read My Best Friend's Exorcism, which that one was pretty scary. Okay, it really was. And the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which was also quite scary in places. This one, I really don't think it was scary, but really enjoyed it. Grady Hendrix, he seems to always set his books, tell his stories through the voice of young women, young girls, old girls, teenagers, old girls. And he does it really well, really well. He also, I think, tends to have a Southern vibe in his books, which again, I really enjoy that, being a Southerner myself. This one was in Florida. The Southern Guide to Vampires, I think, was in the Carolinas. I don't remember. And My Best Friend's Exorcism, that may have been up north by a lake or something. I'm not for sure. But the other vibe that he has is he really understands pop culture from the 70s and 80s. So his books also tend to be centered in those couple of decades, that era. And it's just fun. It's fun for someone from my generation to read that and have it done well. This one, he also, I think, fairly subtly deals with social themes, social issues, and I really appreciate that. So this one, he talks about, like, there's no clear good and evil in this book, I would say. And he very subtly, he's got a very light touch with this, but he talks about agency, like being able to make your own decisions in life, and how everyone has different wants and needs and experiences and roadblocks that they have to deal with in life. And because of these things, we can't all, make the same decisions. Like, so things that are important to me and that I need might prevent me from helping you with your needs. Yeah, it's really, really well done. Really well done. Quite impressed with that. So anyway, highly recommend Grady Hendrix. I've decided after this I'm going to be a Grady Hendrix completist. So I have 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got 9 books out, 7 fiction and 2 nonfiction, and I have read 3, so I have 6 to go. Maybe I will buy one this summer. So this one, I would say, is more of a 4.5 star, but I probably wouldn't round it up to 5 on Goodreads. So yeah, that's what I got going. And before we go, I'm going to show you the bookshelves, how they're looking, and tell you my plan of attack for this week. I have, it's the 2nd, so I have 13 and a half days left. 2 weeks, let's say 2 weeks. 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks to go. So let's turn you around and see what there is to be seen here. All right, so here's the shelf. You can see I have cleared off the Singapore shelf. I think I moved some books around. This was the random shelf. I have 1 more left in that one that I'll hopefully get to before I go. And then this week, I want to focus on these 3 shelves. These are the books I brought with me from America the first year I moved here, and I've been here 3 years, and I haven't read these. So I'm going to focus on these books this week, see how many of these I can get read. And the first one will be The Butchering Art, Joseph Lister's Quest to Transform the Grisly World of Victorian Medicine by Lindsay Fitzharris. I think I've read another book by her. Maybe I'll let you know next week. But Heidi and I are going to buddy read this, and we are both, we've both been looking forward to it for so long, and I think it's so funny that we've just been looking forward to reading a book called The Butchering Art. But anyway, there you go. So hopefully I'll check in again next week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye.